Oh boy. Vikings, you just lost by another blowout on Sunday, January 1st, on New Year's Day to the Packers in Green Bay. Cripe. Now we lost our place in the second in the NFC. Now we're third in the NFC. Vikings. Now the 49ers are in second place in the NFC because they won against the Raiders on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2023. Ugh. Yes, lost by 28 points to the Packers in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Nuh-uh. In week 17. Nuh-uh. Ugh. Well, here's the stats for the Vikings. Kirk Cousins had 18 carrying and 31 attempts and 205 yards and 1 touchdown. Nick Mullins had 4 carrying and 4 attempts and 57 yards and 1 touchdown. The rushing, Alexander Madison had 8 carrying and 38 yards. Kirk Cousins had 3 carrying and 37 yards. Dalvin Cook had 9 carrying and 27 yards. Alright, receiving. Jalen Naylor had 3 receiving and 89 yards and 1 touchdown. TJ Hawkinson had 7 receiving and 59 yards. KJ Osborne had 7 receiving and 59 yards and 1 touchdown. Dalvin Cook had 2 receiving and 17 yards. Adam Thielen had 1 receiving and 16 yards. Justin Jefferson had 1 receiving and 15 yards. Alexander Madison had 1 receiving and 7 yards. Just wow. The defense, Cameron Bynum had 4 tackles and 5 assists. Patrick Peterson had 4 tackles and 2 assists. Brian Ozama had 3 tackles and 1 assist. Eric Kendricks had 3 tackles and 2 assists. Harrison Smith had 2 tackles and 3 assists. Kairos Tonga had 2 tackles and 3 assists. Come on. Dalvin Tomlinson had 2 tackles and 2 assists. Duke Shelley had 2 tackles and 1 assist. Zadarius Smith had 2 tackles and 1 assist. Chandon Sullivan had 2 tackles. Cameron Dantzler had 2 tackles. TJ Smith had 1 tackles and 3 assists. Jordan Hicks had 1 tackles and 3 assists. DJ Wanham had 1 tackles and 2 assists. Harrison Phillips had 1 tackle and 1 assist. Daniel Hunter had 1 tackle. Patrick Jones, too, had 1 assist. T.O. Jackson had none. Justin Jefferson had none. Ezra Cleveland had none. Azazi Omatuo only had 1 assist. Alright, the kick returns for the Vikings. Keenan Nwangu had 5 returns and 141 yards, Jalen Rigor on the punt returns had 1 return and 0 yards. Greg Joseph had made 1 field goal and missed 2 field goals. And punting, Ryan Wright had 95 yards. You gotta be kidding me, Vikings. You gotta be kidding me. Alright, here's the stats for the Packers. Alright. The passing, Aaron Rodgers had 159 yards and 1 touchdown. Jordan Love had 9 yards. And Aaron Rodgers had 15 carrying and 24 attempts. Jordan Love had 2 carrying and 3 attempts. The rushing, Aaron Jones had 14 carrying and 111 yards. A.J. Dillon had 12 carrying and 41 yards. 1 touchdown. Patrick Taylor Jr. had 5 carrying and 10 yards. Aaron Rodgers had 1 carrying and 2 yards and 1 touchdown. Jordan Love had 1 carrying and -1 yards. All right, here's the receiving. Alan Lazard had 5 receiving and 59 yards. Robert Tonyan had 3 receiving and 52 yards and 1 touchdown. Romeo Doubs had 3 receiving and 20 yards. Randall Cobb had 2 receiving and 20 yards. Christian Watson had 1 receiving and 11 yards. Josiah DeGuara had 1 receiving and 4 yards. Aaron Jones had 2 receiving and 2 yards. And A.J. Dillon had none. The defense of the Packers. Adrian Amos had 7 tackles and 1 assist and 1 interception. Devondre Campbell had 5 tackles and 3 assists. Kawhi Walker had 4 tackles and 4 assists. Rasul Douglas had 3 tackles. Isaiah McDuffie had 2 tackles and 2 assists. Kenny Clark had 1 tackles and 3 assists. Preston Smith had 1 tackles and 2 assists. Jonathan Ford had 1 tackles and 2 assists. Darnell Savage Jr. had 1 tackle and 1 assist. Justin Hollins had 1 tackle. Devontae Wyatt had 1 tackle. Ennis Gaines had 1 tackle. Tariq Carpenter had none. Tyler Davis had none. Eric Wilson had 1 assist. Jerron Reed had 2 assists. Jonathan Garvin had 1 assist. And Nolan Leviat had none. Kingsley Enagbare had 1 assist. Corey Valentine had 1 assist. And Jair Alexander had none. All right. The kick returns for the Packers. Kyson Nixon had 1 return in 105 yards and 1 touchdown. Oh my God. You gotta be kidding me. The punt returns for the Packers. Randall Cobb had 1 return in 15 yards. Kason Nixon had 1 return in 10 yards. Mason Crosby only made 2 field goals in the kicking. And the punting for the Packers, Pat O'Donnell had 81 yards. And yeah. Hold on. All right. Now look at the stats, everyone. For the Vikings first. Total yards for the Vikings. The Vikings only had 346 total yards in that game. And the Packers only had 315 yards in that game. And the Vikings only had 244 passing yards. And the Packers only had 152 passing yards. And the rushing yards, the Vikings only had 1 or 2 rushing yards. And the Packers only had 163 rushing yards, I meant. And yards per play. Alright, in yards per play, the Vikings only had 6.1 yards per play, and the Packers only had 5.2 yards per play. The Vikings only had 18 first downs, and the Packers only had 20 first downs. You gotta be kidding me. Ugh. Well, let's hope we beat the Bears this upcoming Sunday for Week 18, which Week 18 is the final week of the season. And remember, Vikings, you need to sweep the Bears since you beat them in October. Remember, you gotta sweep the Bears. Come on, Vikings. Sweep the Bears on Sunday. Sweep the Bears on Sunday, Vikings. Come on. We need to beat Justin Fields and the Bears this upcoming Sunday. And we need to go to 13-4 to stay place in the NFC North. Hope we beat the Bears on Sunday in Chicago. That would be nice. Well, that's it. Alright. That's it, y'all. Stay tuned for the Week 18 part. And also the playoffs, too. Don't forget about this, guys.